Svaru, good morning. I love being able to talk to you again. Thanks for all your time. Today, we have to talk about the subject which is very delicate for all, suffering. It is one of the most important and most controversial issues, I think, and the most difficult for us to understand. The beginning question would be, why is there suffering in the world? No matter what matrix, 3D or 5D, it seems to be present in different levels. Why? Good afternoon, Gosha. Yes, the subject is very delicate, but it is very important to understand it. Suffering has many, many angles to look at it from. Most of the people suffering there are not real. They are programmed to instigate an emotional response upon the real people. Real people do suffer, but they go in there with a script, and that is controlled by them before going in there, and it states clear limits to suffering. Each one designed their script carefully and for personal reasons, and it's fixed unless they decide to go out of automatic life mode, as most are in, and take control over everything they want to experience there, jumping script, manual mode. That's why the world is in such chaos, because they don't know how or why they are experiencing all that, and we can tell them why. This is the core of my message to the people of Earth, the how to take control over themselves. I know it's easier said than done, and even understanding this, most won't be able to do it. But at least it's out there. They can control their lives. Okay, I love to hear that. I will be very happy to share this with the people. That's part of my mission here. I hate to see them suffer, and I definitely don't remember setting up any plans or script to suffer. No, you didn't make plans to suffer. The suffering, as one of the reasons why people experience it, comes as the result of them not following their plans. Suffering is the result of not being in alignment with themselves, their desires and wants. There is an advancement, spiritual advancement in resistance. So even suffering has its positive side because it promotes you to change what is wrong, and then it propels you forwards. These are very complicated but core important subjects. Souls do go in there to feel the resistance. In that case, the realization that you will incarnate there and inevitably suffer is present and real before they go in. But it's not a necessary result of being there. Suffering is a guide that tells you something is wrong. Without it, you would not know that something is wrong, and the result would be stagnation. It's also a level of soul progression. You don't have a soul. You are not given a soul. You make your soul as you go. You made your soul. You make yourself. In that level of progression, they still need duality, as they are not integrated yet. So they need to experience that suffering, or at least that resistance, to be able to have the necessary contrast. Suffering as a contrast to what they want. So contrast is needed. Not for everyone, but for most at least. In short, they would not appreciate living in a nice advanced world and in peace if they didn't experience the hardship somewhere else first. It's horrible but true. They will appreciate other lifetimes a lot more later on. It's the feeling that Earth is all there is, what also makes them feel so miserable. I like your thinking. However, apart from suffering being there as the contrast, you also said that the suffering is the result of people not following their plans. So it is hard to tell which suffering is which sometimes, no? It's many levels and many ways of looking at it. It's both things and more, such as that you are always a match for everything you experience. So, nice, positive and loving Miss Robinson, fictitious example name, got hit by a bus. She had it coming. I'm sorry, but that's the result of her own thoughts. People in the matrix, that 3D matrix or this 5D matrix, are not living in a world. The world is the result of their thoughts. It's a mirror, an exact mirror of their thoughts. What you focus on, you get. There is no good and no bad. That's just your interpretation. You focus on something enough and you will get it, no matter what. Do you also understand things in this way there? When one of you dies in a horrible accident with the reptiles, for example, that they had it coming? I mean, it's all understood by saying it was in their plans, but it sounds very cruel and cold. No, it's not in their plans. Not as in you planned that. In some cases, yes, people do plan things like this, but usually not. What they get is the direct result of their thoughts. The universe, the matrix, does not hear the words I don't want, not, don't, not, no, etc. All it senses is that you are focusing on whatever you are focusing on. And no, it's not cruel. It's empowering because every creature, every person is effectively in charge of themselves. The problem is that they are manifesting horrible things for themselves because they do not know how this works. And why don't we know? Because you've been hacked by the negative ones to make you manifest hurtful things and suffering in general. That's the matrix hack. Yes, precisely. So it's not people's fault entirely. They lost the access to that knowledge. And they were cut off from knowing how to be aware of these things. That's why it's so hard for people. One must live here to really understand that. And most of them are really good people, not desiring anything negative on anyone, doing their best, and still manifesting horrible things. Not knowing why and how it works, it's sad. They are good people. But even being good people, if they are still in the victim mode and focusing on the wrong things, then that's what they will get. It's of maximum importance for them to know these things. But not all will understand, and many will strongly disagree. But we must not care, because this is the truth. I don't make this up. This is known here. Yes, I understand that completely. Believe me, most of what you tell me I agree with and I believe. But I still try to present it to you from their point of view, see both sides. I mean, even you have horrible things happen, accidents, wars. So imagine how much harder it is from 3D. Yes, we do have those things. But we are one level up from the humans. We know how it works. So when something wrong comes along, from here we can fix the problem using mind alone. Well, exactly. And people here don't have this power, or better said, they don't know they have it. Being cut off from all that knowledge of how to create and fix things. Let's give this power back to them. That's my work. Remember, you must be on guard always. You must always be watching your thoughts, frequency and reactions. If you ramble off, then your rambling thoughts will take over your life. Whatever you focus on will be. The external world is a perfect and unbiased reflection of what you are thinking about, of what you are focusing on. It holds no judgment to whether it's good or bad. It simply reflects to the outside world whatever you are looking at, focusing on. So, if there is nothing but hardship and horrible things in your life, it's hard to focus on anything else, so you create more suffering. It also makes you go into a state of victim mentality, where you simply cannot see, understand, or believe that you are truly creating your own reality. Creating your own reality isn't question to debate. It's like gravity. It just is. And it is whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not, accept it or not. Okay, let's dissect this. Let's take a young child, a baby even, who didn't have time to be in this world yet to focus on hardships. It's quite blank. So that baby couldn't manifest suffering as the result of focusing on suffering. The suffering came to him first, or what seems like first. Can you explain that kind of scenario, please? Life consciousness doesn't start at birth or at conception. The focus creating its reality, even as a little fetus that gets aborted, comes from its former life and understanding. The understanding it created, it left at. Also, in the case of the small child, the thought patterns of the mother do influence the thought patterns of the child. But those inexplicable tragedies do come from the exact focus of the consciousness living it. So, from the 3D perspective, that little 3-year-old child suffering from cancer or whatever would be completely understandable as a tragedy, and as the child being a victim of circumstance and ill luck. But 3D doesn't explain existence. It's extremely limited. That child suffering cancer is getting its exact reflection of its focused attention and consciousness. I am sorry, I cannot give 3D only answers for this subject because there are none. I understand, Svaru. It is becoming clearer. Okay, you said that child suffering cancer is getting its exact reflection of its focused attention and consciousness. Can you explain that a bit more, please? Yes. In other words, that child reincarnated precisely to experience dying of cancer at an early age, for whatever ideas it may have developed based on the experience it had in its former life, and the focused intention it had also during their interlife, between life period. And the attention focus of a child, however young it may be, is already at work since before birth, so it is creating its own reality. The debate about abortion, it's simple here, and if humans would know it, there wouldn't be any problem nor any debate. It takes 2 to 3 weeks for the connection between soul and body to start. So before those 2 to 3 weeks, abortion is okay, as it's just a lump of cells. After those 2 to 3 weeks, then it is murder. Interesting. Thank you for this piece of information. By the focused intention the soul had before incarnating, you mean the soul wanted to come back and experience suffering? Because the intention, in my understanding, is something the soul wants, intends, no? It doesn't want to experience suffering. It wants the expansion that would give it. Suffering is only the indicator that you are not on your track or not following your desires, cravings, and wants. But you do need the contrast in order to appreciate or to experience what it is like to be on your track. You cannot understand joy without the contrast of suffering. At higher stages, you transcend duality. Therefore, suffering and joy, as opposites, are no longer needed. But for me, the suffering as the indicator that you are not on the right track, as much as it makes sense, is a different type of suffering as soul manifesting its focused intention in this life or before it. I see them as two separate reasons behind suffering, no? I am not sure I understand your statement. Well, because I asked you about what it means, the focused intention and between life intention, and you responded that the suffering is an indication of when you are not on the right track. Is there a connection between these two reasons? I think it's one and the same. And you really need resistance, not suffering. Resistance propels you forwards, giving you a goal and purpose, even if that goal is simply to escape from suffering. Resistance to suffering. But as you resist it, whatever it may be, in this case suffering, then you are placing your attention to what you don't want, getting more of it. You don't want to suffer, so you do things to run away from suffering. But that's the problem, as that only creates more suffering. So you must focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. But how not to focus on what you don't want, in this case to suffer? You must understand that you must accept the suffering, go into it, allow it, not resist it. A lot more to be said here. Don't resist it, because what you resist persists. Allow it. If I have a tremendous pain due to the disease, how can I allow it? Or if I see my brother suiciding himself, or animals being slaughtered in pain. I do understand your main points, I just must push from the 3D perspective more. How? You must understand why. It's a process, but in the end, you must allow your feelings to be. You are not allowing your brother to commit suicide. You are not allowing nor agreeing to the pain. What you are allowing is your feelings about those things. That's a dichotomy. Again, hardly understood in 3D. That many things, often contradictory, may be true at the same time. I didn't say to allow horrible things. I meant to allow your feelings of helplessness creating your suffering. Also, if you can avoid it, if you can avoid an animal from being slaughtered, by all means do help it, and with it you end your suffering in the first place. By allowing suffering, I mean it as a spiritual practice. I don't mean literally allow yourself to be mistreated, for example. You must allow how you feel about something that is causing suffering. Okay, I understand and I must ponder on this more. I'm still not quite understanding this part though. You said, you manifest whatever you focus on. So if it's suffering, then it will be more suffering. So in that case, you meant the suffering baby focused on it before this incarnation or interlives? Yes. However hard it may be to understand from 3D, that's what it is. And in what way did he or she focus on it? You mean, are you linking this to karma? Focused on it as in, hey, I want to experience suffering next, why not? Or as, I still need to pay off some links. I will go and suffer this time. The consciousness is the same before life and after. See being born as going into a car. You are out of the car before life. You go into the car, you are in physicality. But the mere fact that you stepped into the car won't change everything that's going on in your mind. Going into the car won't change your focus attention much. Excellent. I like that analogy. Many explain this as karma. Yes, I personally think it's just an attention focus issue, as simple as that. And why are they focusing on suffering before coming here then? Because they were suffering before. Okay, then why were they suffering before? When was the first time? And why did the first time take place? Each one will have its reasons. That suffering may be being dragged lifetime after lifetime, a very hard past life. At some point, they fell into a trap. Yes, but the source does not have past lives, nor does it suffer. So why do souls that come from the source suffer? Or the ones who incarnate from higher dimensions, starseeds, etc. They didn't focus on suffering earlier much. Source is suffering free. Source by nature is everything and encompasses everything. It has no judgment. If you are completely suffering resistance free, then you will no longer seek expansion. You cease to exist. Yes, but let's be logical for a moment. If we suffer because we focused on it earlier, where did the first suffering come from? Since while being in source, the soul didn't focus on suffering. I feel something is wrong here with all this picture. It's like all this is some kind of rationalization of something that I feel should not be taking place. Suffering is artificial to me. And I am especially referring to strong physical suffering, illnesses, screaming people from pain. This is not normal. I can't accept this as being normal. Something gave them a post-traumatic stress disorder and they haven't got over it. Yet, it's still what they brought upon themselves. They somehow became a frequency match to those events, like it or not. Yet, extremely horrible events, as seen in the red section of your newspapers, people being eviscerated alive and similar, are just more matrix and not happening to any real people. Okay, I like that about the post-traumatic stress disorder. Something gave me a post-traumatic stress disorder. That makes sense. And what was it? Or who was it? Or something got us in a trap. Yes, the trap. You incarnate, something lowers your frequency, so you become a match to something unwanted that caused suffering. Then you focus on that, getting more of it. You die, but you are so traumatized, having a post-traumatic stress disorder because of the suffering, that you carry it into the next incarnation. It's very, very hard to accept that there are no victims anywhere. If the person is real, then he is the master of his own reality. And we must understand that every one of us, 3D or 5D, has some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. We are all damaged. I understand. At this point, and talking about karma, it will be important to mention that even though we make ourselves come back to pay off anything, it's basically our own belief that we should repair anything. So one of the ways to get out of the trap is to forgive yourself strongly and others, right? And I mean deeply. What other ways are there then to get out of suffering trap? Right. But even more important than forgiving others, the key is to forgive yourself. And that's hard. It's hard because it is the cause of karma and reincarnation into horrible situations, like the 3-year-old child with cancer. In other words, no one is innocent, not even an unborn child. as we all carry our problems, beliefs, and post-traumatic stress disorder into each new life, each new incarnation. Perhaps a good way to forgive yourself for something we did wrong is realizing what you just said, that we served only as a frequency match to that person's own creation. So even if we did something bad, it was just reflecting to them something theirs at the same time, in one way or another. And now it's time to decide no more reflections of any frequencies towards others anymore. Done. Moving on. Although this could also sound as justifying negative actions toward others. Yes, and yes, you are right. As you just said, if you become a frequency match to doing something wrong to someone, that someone was also, by its own hand, a frequency match to your wrongdoing. Exactly. Looking at it this way, it could help at the moment of trying to forgive yourself that nothing you do is purely of your own doing. We are all related and co-creating. Still though, not a justification in any way to continue to do harm to others. Yes, not a justification, yet it still works like that, as the universe has no idea, no judgment about whether what you are doing is good or wrong. Now, if you let me get weirder, to suffer and to be in frequency of negative things is only one of countless timelines of yours. It's your choice to live in the one you are in. All the variants, positive and negative, already exist. All you must do is move your focus attention towards the experiences you do want, not focusing on the ones you don't want. And you do that by altering your frequency. How do we alter our frequency? The indicator or gauge of your frequency is your happiness. You're feeling good about something in particular. For example, if you are offered a good business, but your gut feeling tells you that it's very wrong, then it will always be wrong, however logical the said business may sound at first. But you are not entirely happy. What does that mean then? If you know all these keys and things, how come you are still unhappy in some way? How come you can't fix it even from 5D? It's so much harder from 3D. I understand how things work, but I too carry my personal post-traumatic stress disorder, and I'm hard at work to free myself of all this, and all these eternal samsara wheel reincarnation circles. You also carry some sort of suffering then, yes? Even in 5D? Yes, we do. But less, I imagine. And you know how to control it more, yes? You understand the mechanics of it. I dare say most in 5D are well in their way to transcend that problem. But controlling this has nothing or little to do with being in 5D or in any density. Consciousness has no limits. You can be free and you can control all this from any density. The only thing that limits you in 3D, 5D or wherever is your idea of being limited, because you literally don't have any limits, because you are Source itself. So being in 3D is no excuse. You can transcend. Excellent. I understand. Now, you said that we suffer when we are not aligned with our purpose. Can this suffering be physical too, like losing our legs so we can focus more on our writing purpose? The mind is like a monkey, always looking for something to focus on and create a problem out of. A woman found herself a match to a car accident where she broke her leg. She remained months in a plaster cast. During those months, her mind, her monkey, focused on the problem leg and she, who she really is, could finally understand that she is not only body. Thanks to her accident, she found enlightenment. After 4 months in a plaster cast, she recovered from her accident 100%. Now she has a leg again, and she is as before, but now she remains enlightened. Everything happens for a reason, and nothing is ever just chance. Talking about physical pain and trying to understand all the reasons behind it, why is there still so much physical suffering? I mean, why does our body have to hurt so much? If it hurt less, it could also serve its purpose. I mean, there are people burned to death, stabbed to death. The amount of physical pain is overwhelming. Why was it designed this way? I oppose this. You know, before meeting you, I always used to say, I am going to appeal this to whoever designed human bodies. It's crazy the amount of pain this body is able to feel. There is a limit. It's not unlimited pain. There is only so much pain a body can take before it switches off. Yet, it is too much. I do agree. You agree? So who do we appeal this to? Who is responsible? Most of that body pain is experienced in 3D because the body is not complete and it wears out, gets old. The DNA is not complete, so it cannot heal correctly. In 5D, there is still a lot of pain, but I believe it's not the same as in 3D, that is a lot denser, harder to bear. And technically speaking, you are responsible for designing your body and the human body. What do you mean I am responsible? Because you, from your perspective, understand it or not, you are source itself. Yes, but I mean, putting the source apart, there had to be a creator race, the biology creator race of beings, or something of sort, that designed this. The architects of material vehicles. The body didn't design itself, or did it? Just appeared out of the ether? You are a frequency match to your body. That's why you are in it. You cannot set source aside because you are source. Your body is the perfect reflection of your focus intention. You created it. You designed it. It can be seen by the simple fact that you are in it. There was an original designer. From all true purpose, you are the designer. I am dead serious. There is no one above you. You are not a victim. There is no higher force. You are it. There are only names and roles, but everything there is, everyone is you. Everyone is source. You are only looking at other yous as everything is happening now, and there is no time. Everyone is also you. They would be another focused place of attention of you, but I must stress that they are you. Okay, I completely understand that. But on another level of me, I insist, who are the creator architects of the bodies? For example, you are also me. We are both source. But you are also Taigetans. You have different tasks. And me here, still different tasks. So the source, through you and me, is split into different tasks. So in the same way, perhaps, there was an architect layer of me that designed bodies. I would like to meet a layer of me who designed the physical body so I can appeal the degree of physical pain. I want to identify that part of me who designed the body. Do you know who it is, more specifically? Because I need to appeal to myself. As historical records go, the initial source of the human body predates the great expansion from Vega Avalon and Vega Lyra. But the records and the history was lost in the war over 1 million years ago. What you are asking, we all ask here, and we all want to know. Yet, as things work, we know we are all only the reflection of ourselves, and that we manifested the bodies into existence, as matter as such doesn't exist, and it's only potential energy set into a temporary place called you, because of your consciousness-focused attention. Incredible. Okay, very good, Svaru, and so interesting. Thank you for all your answers and our chat today. A lot to contemplate. It is so important to continue to remind people of the creating power they have over everything in their reality. Yes, this subject has been of utmost importance for people to understand. Thank you, Gosha, as well.